let's talk about reading goals and why I'm not setting any for 2023. Today, I want to talk about abandoning book goals. Each time I've set up a book journal, I find that I very quickly fall into a reading slump and stop reading altogether. I only pick it up again when I forget the idea of logging my reading and let go of my reading goals. When I don't set reading goals for myself, I mood read my way through the year. I organically take notes on my non-fiction reads and I happily immerse myself into fictional worlds. I manage to read a lot this way, and more importantly, I really enjoy reading this way. I feel I get a lot out of it. So why do I feel compelled each and every year to set up a book journal and set reading goals for myself that include how many books I want to read, what genres should I be reading in, how much time should I be reading every day? The list of things that you can track is endless. This is the part of the video where I was going to show you my last reading goals journal, but I can't because I threw it out because I never used it. To be entirely honest with you, this is entirely a social media driven decision for me. Before I started watching these kinds of videos on YouTube, it would never have occurred to me to track my reading in any way whatsoever. Instead, I used to just buy cheap notebooks, tons and tons of cheap notebooks, and keep them as commonplace books for my non-fiction reading. I didn't keep anything for my fictional reads other than writing down a quote here or there. And honestly, I want to get back to reading like that, to really enjoying what I'm doing without setting arbitrary goals for myself. So my one and only reading goal this year is to go back to that style of reading without even entertaining the idea that being a good reader requires that I track my reading. So if I'm not setting reading goals and I'm not tracking my reading, why have I started not one, but 2 reading journals for 2023? The first journal that you watched me set up today is going to be my commonplace book. Now, a commonplace is simply a collection of ideas and information that's recorded for our own use. I take a lot of notes when I read nonfiction, and the last few years I have scattered these notes within my personal journals, which can make it a little tricky to find the information again when I want to read it or use it for some purpose. So the first notebook is going to serve as a repository for notes, not just from books, but also podcasts, YouTube videos, blog posts, even just inspiring quotes I come across. It will be just for the topics of reading, the why, the how, and so forth, of writing as a craft and an art form, of creativity in general, what it is, how it works, how we can invite more of it into our lives, how we can choose to become more creative people. And possibly some notes about journaling itself will go in there, although I may stick to keeping those in my personal journal. I haven't quite decided yet. This second notebook that I am setting up now is going to be a place for taking a few little notes on my fictional reads. So this is just going to be a place for my fictional favorites or favorite fiction. I haven't quite decided which way around I will word this yet, but I just want to be able to keep a list of favorite fiction reads so that I can go back and reread them. A place where I can write some reviews of books, partly as a way to be able to structure my thoughts so that I can talk about books with other people, partly as a way for me to become a better writer by sort of analysing the books that I'm reading, what worked and why was it so interesting, and what was that little snippet of dialogue that really hit the mark? How do I create something like that? This will also be a place where I can write down those little passages or sentences of a book that are just beautifully written, that really speak to me. I don't tend to take a lot of notes from fictional reading, so I'm not even sure if I will fill this book this year. But it doesn't really matter because this isn't a yearly log, it's just a reading journal that I've created for my own purposes. Now, just because setting reading goals and tracking reading hasn't worked for me doesn't mean that it's an inherently bad thing and that you shouldn't do it and that it can't work for you. But if you are wanting to set yourself reading goals for the upcoming year, I would really like to encourage you to look at the why behind the goals you're setting. And it's okay if you're wanting to set up a journal because that's what the BookTube reading community does and you want to be part of the community. And it's okay to set yourself goals and fill out trackers because you enjoy setting goals and filling out trackers. Hobbies are okay to have, and being part of a community is a wonderful thing to do. But if you're wanting to achieve something more specific with your reading, I would really encourage you to think about if the way that you are journaling your reading actually does help facilitate the goals that you're setting. If you want to spend more time reading and less time watching TV, maybe set time-related goals and log your minutes rather than tracking the number of books you read. Or if your goal is to engage more with your reading, consider annotating books as a tool rather than writing down your favorites. At the end of the day, there's no right or wrong way. There is only what works for you in your life right now, and that can change over time. So I hope this has given you something to think about and that you've enjoyed watching me set up my reading journals for the year. At the end of the day, we all just want to read more books and enjoy reading them, don't we? So happy reading, and thank you so much for watching.